Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. Where's my wand? Oh, here it is. You get fairy dust. I get fairy dust. Amelie gets fairy dust. And it's time for another excerpt from Codependent No More, Melly Beatty's amazing book on codependency / the fawn response. And we are in chapter 6 and we're talking about being reactionary. And so I really like this. I'm on page 66 and I love this. This is brilliant. When we react, we forfeit our personal power to think, feel, and behave in our own best interest. Let me say that again. When we react, we forfeit our personal power to think, feel, behave in our best interest. So the best example comes right off the top of my head, which is saying yes to things that we actually don't want to do. Saying yes to things before we look at our calendar. Guilty. Saying yes without really thinking about it. And so, yes, a lot of times is our default that is actually not in our best interest. And so let's say, because the thought that came up for me was the resistance to that fact. So let's say like somebody asked me, will you come early and volunteer and give the cookies in the class? Let's say somebody else, let's say it's fairly assigned and another person didn't do their month or didn't do it or whatever. And so then somebody, because they know they asked me, because they know that I'm very helpful, they know that I'm nice and a good girl, that do I want to bring the snacks or cookies or whatever an extra month, like because this other person couldn't do it or didn't or whatever. And so, yes. Okay, so it seems like, well, wouldn't that be in our best interest? Like, so now like the school will think I'm great or the friend will think I'm great. Absolutely. I mean, maybe they might not, but absolutely. But now you have a resentment because when the day comes, you're not going to want to do it. Then you'll start having feelings about like, well, how come I have to do it more than other people and how come they always call me? But so we act, so it is not in our best interest to have a resentment ever. If we have a resentment, like CPTSD kids, we do not have the luxury of having a resentment. Because our resentment triggers our CPTSD responses, and they will take us over if we carry a resentment for too long. And so, P.S. I'm not talking about forgiveness. I'm just talking about having a resentment. And so do you see how even though it seems like, well, that would be in our best interest to make people like us, to make people think that we're a good person, that it's actually not in our best interest because ... in the end we'll have a resentment. You can do it if you're not going to have resentment, but I'm sure you can recall many times that you've done things out of reacting that were not in your best interest. So we allow others to determine when we will be happy, when we will be peaceful, when we will be upset, and what we will say, do, think, or feel. We forfeit our right to peaceful at the whim of our environments, and we don't want to do it. Like we always are talking about, like we want peace. Like the whole point of the Serenity Prayer to be free from codependency or any addiction is serenity, peace. And so back to that person who wanted me to do, bring the stuff, that a resentment will interfere with my relationship. And it's actually not, it's in my best interest to have clean relationships and to just model healthy behavior. We are like a wisp of paper in a thunderstorm, blown about by every wind. And now I'm going to skip to the next page because this is huge. It's just helpful to like, well, why do we do it? Like, why do we react? In the previous video, I give kind of a more kind of understanding of why we do it, aka spoiler alert, it's because it's a trauma response. Like, we're wired for it. It's comfortable to us to react, even if we have to pay the piper later. So, but here's some. We react because we're anxious. Yes, trauma response. We react because, what if I don't react? Like, I've got to react. We're afraid what has happened, what might happen, or what is happening. So in this instance, so if codependency / fawning is a trauma response, people pleasing, all that is a trauma response, it's there for a reason to help you quell your anxiety in the moment. And so the real thing is, if we, so if we heal our codependency and don't stop reacting and start acting on life, start acting from our own best interests, then we'll have anxiety. And now we got to deal with anxiety. So this is why a lot of people don't stop their codependency, because it's their self-medication for their anxiety. Many of us react as though everything is a crisis. Remember the thing from last time, normal people call, when they have a flat tire, they call AAA, alcoholics, addicts, codependents. We call CPTSD kids, we call 911. Because many of us have lived with crises so long that a crisis reaction has become a habit. 100%. Everything is an emergency. Let's see. We react because we think things shouldn't be happening the way that they're happening. We react because we think things shouldn't be happening the way they are happening. And that is just a human person arguing with the reality. Arguing with reality. Usually we call that crazy. When someone wants to argue with reality, like shit happens, tires go flat, people disappoint, people die, we get in accidents sometimes, we have poor health sometimes, people hurt us sometimes. These are life things, they happen. And for us to react, whether it's drama or react by trying to fix something or put out fires or whatever, it's truly trying to make the thing that happened not happen. And that is reality. That's so a lot of times people will say, let's say, like, my husband shouldn't put his socks on the floor. And I'm like, that's an adult. He gets to put his socks where he wants. No, but he shouldn't. And it's like, okay, well then set a boundary. Say, hey, I just need you not to put your socks on the floor, please. I would like for you to stop doing that. And then they do it. And so instead of like data, that didn't work. Let me think about this again. Let me make sure that what I'm asking is reasonable. Let me, instead of problem solving it, you get mad and arguing with the reality that, as evidenced by his behavior, the socks are on the floor. So saying that somebody shouldn't have put their socks on the floor, that happened in the past. Like, it's something that happened, and you're arguing against reality, because the reality is the socks are on the floor. So the appropriate response, instead of reacting, we, set boundaries, we problem solve. A lot of times what I do, like one of my quickest ways, if I ever get irritated, which I really don't, about stuff in the house that I don't like, I think, it's like, oh, my husband should pick up his socks, or my husband should pick up his shoes, or whatever. Like, these aren't real examples, but then I catch a glimpse of my books and my shit everywhere. It's like, oh, what am I doing? Or I think about, like, he does these things, I can do this. If it's easier for him to put his socks on the floor, then he does all these other things that, he does for me, and it's a fair swap, so I'll go through a lot of different ways to problem solve. And if not, like, I have to come to the point where it's like a deal breaker, or it's, if a human refuses to do something that you want them to do, it eventually will have to just become a deal breaker. And is that what you want. So, but again, we can set boundaries, and we can use nonviolent communication to talk to the other person about how their boundary impacted, their breaking of our boundary impacted us, and all that in a very, very healthy way. You can go to couples counseling about it, get somebody to help you manage that. But to argue that the socks shouldn't be on the floor when they're sitting on the floor is arguing with reality. So I want to keep both of my feet in reality and deal with the problem at hand. We react because we don't feel good about ourselves. Having CPTSD, growing up with it, hating myself all the time before I got all the recovery that I have, it's way easier to be mad at shit. I don't have to feel that self-hate. It's very easy to say this should not be, because I don't have to feel like I'm a piece of shit all the time, or how I'm lazy, or how I'm worthless, or how I'm a nothing. It's just easier to be upset about the socks on the floor. So codependence, like, to fill that, remember, we're covering anxiety. Some of us are covering depression. Some of us are covering trauma with our codependency. We're looking for something to keep that distraction going. So it's like we're looking for the next shiny object. And 9 times out of 10, that shiny object is a problem that another adult has that they have not asked us to fix. So isn't that easier than hating ourselves 24/7? Like, it gives us a break from how disgusting we find ourselves. And so that is why when we heal, it's so uncomfortable, because then we got to find out how to fucking love ourselves so we don't constantly react. Little Amelie. We react because most people react. It's a cultural norm, especially in our families. If that's the family that we're from, highly reactionary. We react because we think we have to. It's our role to react. So I just really, it's very, obviously, because I'm doing this series, it's obviously helpful for me to kind of deconstruct, because at the time, like, it's like the adrenaline and the dopamine is flowing. Like, when shit goes down, I'm like, brrr, like it's just like, and I feel this feeling, like this overwhelming urge to do a thing. And for me, I came to my codependency recovery in the back door because I needed to heal my addiction, because I couldn't stop throwing up all day, binging and purging all day. And so in order to stop doing that, so I had to put that aside. Okay. Well, I still liked it. I still wanted to do it. And one of the quickest ways I reacted in my codependency is so things could be bad again, because then I'd have a resentment, or then I'd be busy solving someone else's problem or whatever, and not working on my codependency, which also meant I was still walking around with my self-hate and self-disregard and low self-confidence and all that other low self-esteem, zero self-care. So when I was faced with that, without healing it, look, the addiction comes to self-medicate. So I had to deal with all of this shit and heal that so that I won't use. Because I will. If I'm acting out in my code, I just thought of this just now, but so one of the things I say, like, I don't drink. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink because if I drink, like if I have a couple of drinks, all I want to do after that is just eat. So the drinking lowers my tolerance, or my, it causes a willpower depletion in my commitment not to binge and purge or eat off my food plan or whatever I've committed. It lowers that. It's like, and so it lets my brain tell me, like, oh, this is fine. Okay, so I don't drink because drinking will lead me to, I will never have a third drink. I'm not interested in it. I don't care about it. It's a nothing to me. But as soon as I have that second one, like, my defenses are lower enough so I'll want to go eat. Same with codependency, bitch, which is what I just realized. It's like, if I am too codependent, if I'm acting out in my codependency, if I let myself be depleted, If I'm up here reacting, that means there's nothing left for this bitch. I have acted out not in myself, in my best interest. I have left myself vulnerable to my addiction coming and taking over and just giving me the oblivion that I crave when I am, you know, in the throes of my codependency. So I hope that was helpful. Like, we talk about all this shit. You see why I need to wear a bow sometimes? Like, this is deep, heavy shit. So you just need a little bit of sometimes. You just need a little, you need a little wand, you need a little fairy dust, you need a little, like, little things to brighten our day, because this is hard fucking work. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of me. And I hope this is helpful. I can't believe I'm gonna say this, bitch. Please subscribe. And what else do they say? Hit the notification button if you want to know when my videos come out. I'm making more. Thank you all of you who have been on YouTube. You don't follow me anywhere else. You're on YouTube, and you're a YouTube bitch, and you're here for me, and you've hung in with me, even though I have neglected you, and I'm sorry. It's been me trying to figure out how to do all the things that I want to do and how to do all the things that I've committed to do. And so I am going to be doing more here. I think I've cracked the code, and so you'll see me here more regularly, at least once a week. My goal is more, but anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Love you. Oh, okay. So please subscribe, bitch. And what's the other thing? Oh, I'll put in the description. My website has a newsletter. So if you want to get on the newsletter and you want to submit a question to Ask an Advanced Bitch, all you have to do is reply to the newsletter. So, but that's the way to get a question for me if you ever have a question for Ask an Advanced Bitch. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Love you. Bye.